Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever episode of The Fuel Gauge. I'm Eddie Kalegi here on WUB Network. I decided to do it now. I didn't have much time this weekend, but I do right now, and the Clash at Daytona is under a red flag, so they're talking to Paul Menard right now, who's currently the leader after 10 laps, but a lot to get to. No Tyler in this one, it's just me, so it's not going to be as long as other ones. We'll get more in depth next time, but today, a couple things I wanted to talk about. Although the first real race is the Clash today, there was the ARCA race and qualifying we can get to, and I will also give my playoff predictions. In addition, if you have any questions, you could tell me, but we're going to start with this ARCA race yesterday. It was a fun race. It was a good way to start the season. I mean, some people might think it was a little boring at times, but I think it was a good race overall. You had the early wreck. Michael Self almost went upside down on the third lap of the race when he got turned and out of line. I forgot which car. I think it was Willie Mullins who got into him. So it was exciting. You had the breakaways at some point. Then the pack got together. You had the big wrecks, the one off the restart. Then you had the other wreck with about 9 to go with Thad Moffitt. And then things got wild. At the end, Brandon McReynolds had that incredible run with Todd Gilliland to catch up. I thought that they were going to get by to the lead, but as you know, these ARCA cars are hard to draft with. Todd Gilliland ended up hooking Brandon McReynolds into the wall and causing the biggest wreck of the race we saw. There were 5 cars in that one. Took out McReynolds, who came in as a favorite. And then it set up a one-lap shootout. There was a lot of controversy about it just being one lap, but that was a new decision that ARCA did after last year's 2-hour marathon of a finish. And Harrison Burton, who had been the strongest all race, prevailed and took the victory, driving for Venturiti Motorsports. His parents were very excited, of course. Father Jeff Burton, his uncle Ward Burton is a former Daytona 500 champion. But overall, it was a fun race. Now, my certain critiques of the race. I don't think it should be a one-lap shootout. It could be 2. I understand not wanting these over and over and over overtimes and stuff, but that's something that needs to be adjusted. So that's a start. That's an automatic start. Second thing, the Fox camera work. Oh my goodness, there were some major mistakes with the Fox cameras. I started noticing it a lot last fall. I believe it was a ISM truck race that they had some awful camera things, but there were wrecks you couldn't even see on the camera. One of the big ones, the one where the 33 car made a heck of a save on the apron, they were just completely looking in other places, and they didn't have an angle of Paul Williamson's 36 car that got absolutely demolished in that wreck. So that was not good, but it was a good race, and it was a good way to start off Speed Weeks. Yesterday also there was Daytona practice, but I mean, nothing really that exciting happened with Daytona practice. What I will say, though, is that these drivers were going hard for the first few minutes. I mean, they knew there was rain impending, so they wanted to do as well as they could, and that was fun and all, but my goodness, that wreck early on in practice when Chase Elliott ended up coming up in front of Ryan Newman and triggering a 4-car accident. Kevin Harvick's hood went flying. It was crazy. Harvick was then stuck in the grass for 15 minutes, ended up cutting his finger trying to fix the hood. Then they had to bring out the tow truck to get new tires so he could bring it out and maybe not have to go to a backup car. So that was just crazy. But the fact that these drivers were going so hard at the beginning of practice is a good sign. Now, rest of practice, I mean, Fords have been fast. Bubba Wallace, David Reagan, and others. They've both been pretty strong. Bubba Wallace, pardon me, is a Chevy, but David Reagan has been strong. And then, of course, you had Joe Gibbs Racing coming out strong. You had the 4-car draft, just the 4 Gibbs cars. Martin Truex Jr. has clearly meshed well, now taking over the 19. Big surprise for me is that Stewart-Haas Racing. Remember, the last time we were at a plate track, Stewart-Haas Racing was dominant for that entire race at Talladega. It was basically them in charge of the whole race. And things happened and things fell apart for them here. I mean, you had early in qualifying, you had Harvick, Almirola, Suarez all on track. Clint Bowyer's the only one who's really shown any speed. The Clash, as I said, right now, as I'm watching, they're in the rain delay on lap 10. You know, they really haven't shown a lot of speed. Clint Bowyer was the only one fast in qualifying. They've struggled so far in the Clash. So that's a bit of a surprise, and you think maybe it's because of the new Mustang. But I wouldn't say that, because Penske has been just fine with Keselowski and Logano. Front Row Motorsports has looked solid with David Reagan and Michael McDowell. So Stewart-Haas Racing is having some trouble right now. So that's definitely something interesting to talk about. Also, we've got Daytona 500 qualifying. And my goodness, the Chevys came out strong. William Byron, Alex Bowman, Jimmy Johnson, Chase Elliott, starting 1 through 4. I mean, that's going to be fun, seeing the 4 of them up front. Daniel Hemrick was very strong. You had the Penske cars. You had JGR with Martin Truex Jr. What I still want to see, though, do these Hendrick cars have enough speed to carry out the whole season? They might be good right now, but I don't know if that's going to continue into the regular season. We're just going to have to see with that. And by the regular season, I mean outside of Daytona. They could be good at Daytona, but we'll see what happens. But William Byron looked so good in qualifying, as did Bowman, all 4 of them really, and even RCR as well. And Stewart-Haas Racing once again faltered. So one last thing I want to get to, I only got a couple more minutes, but I'm going to give my predictions for the playoffs. So my 16 drivers to make the playoffs, making it on wins: Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano, the big 3, Harvick, Busch, Truex. I think Denny Hamlin is going to get a win. Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson will get a win, so we're up to 9. Eric Almirola, Kurt Busch will win a race. Clint Bowyer, and I say Daniel Suarez wins a race. So those are my 13. And then the other 3 that get in: Eric Jones gets in on points. Daniel Hemrick gets in on points as a rookie. And Jimmy Johnson, although he doesn't win, gets in on points. Then I think Johnson, Hemrick, Jones, and Suarez out in the round of 16. Round of 12 really bites Stewart-Haas Racing. I think Almirola, Bowyer, Kurt Busch for Ganassi is going to get knocked out. And I don't know. I think I don't know if Kevin Harvick's really going to have a great year. I think it's the curse of the black cars. Jimmy Johnson had that curse last season. So they'll be the 4 out. Then the round of 8 will take Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin. This is a tough spot. And Kyle Larson. And then that leaves Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., and Chase Elliott as the 4 to battle it out for the title. And I am going with Kyle Busch to win the title. His 2nd championship. I think this is the year. I think he's going to put everything together. I think Chase Elliott is going to be right there and have his best season. But I'm going with Kyle Busch. I think William Byron is just narrowly going to miss out on the playoffs. It's going to be a great duel between him and Hemrick, but he's definitely going to improve. I think Denny Hamlin's going to get the win, but not have a great rest of the season. Stewart-Haas Racing will fall back a little. Eric Jones will take a step back. And that's basically it. So next time, we're going to get a little more in-depth, talk about the off-season changes and the impending Daytona 500. Hopefully, Miss Kraft can join us. So make sure to like and subscribe to WUB Network. I'll see you next time.